Is it entirely possible to be a high performer in every single role that you play in your life? You see, we all have many different roles we play. I am literally no different. I am a husband, a father of two, I run a six-figure company, and I also happen to have a 9-to-5 where I'm a leader at a $100 million company. And when people hear this, one, I think they're shocked, but two, they ask me the same two questions every single time. One, do you sleep? And I don't know if you can tell with these bags underneath my eyes, but the answer is sometimes. And the second question though is how. You see, there's no point in doing all these different things unless you plan on being a professional, being a high performer in each and every one. And so in this video, I want to do something a little different. I want to kind of break down some frameworks that I found that worked for me, and also do something that I don't see too many content creators doing, which is talking about what I'm not good at. You see, I think the problem that I have with the self-improvement entrepreneurial kind of content is, for the most part, it's just a lot of people flexing and acting like they have everything down. I personally don't. There are still tons of things that I dropped the ball on, things that I'm working on. So again, in this video, I want to share some frameworks that have helped me be pretty darn decent in some of the categories that I mentioned earlier, but also some areas of opportunity and what I'm going to be doing about it. First, in order to even be decent at anything, you need a clear vision. Now, a vision, a purpose, whatever you want to call it, for me, it's really important to have a purpose for what I'm doing. And for those two categories I mentioned earlier, which was working at a 9-to-5 as a leader and also running my six-figure business, I have to know what is the goal, what is the purpose of me, what am I doing this for? Because if I don't have that, what was the point of doing it? And so for each category, I have a vision, a goal that I'm trying to get to that obviously is going to continue to grow and change, but it's what keeps me challenged and also being excited. I will put a caveat to this. Now, not everybody needs to have a 9-to-5 job that they love and they enjoy and they find purpose in and run a business. I am just crazy, and for some reason, I feel it necessary to constantly be creating. I felt like if I had a 9-to-5 only, I would get bored, and vice versa. Like obviously with my, I was a full-time entrepreneur for 4 years, something like that. And I realized that my vision, I had a friend once say, if your dream doesn't require a team, your dream isn't big enough. And at the time anyway, my dream wasn't that big. So I went back to a 9-to-5 simply because I liked the vision. I liked the goal. It was a really big, audacious goal, and I wanted to be a part of it. Now, again, not everyone wants to do this, but if you are going to do this, again, have a 9-to-5 job and also decide to start a side hustle or, create a company, whatever you end up doing, you need a vision, and it needs to kind of scare you a little bit and get you out of bed. That for me was something that excites me every day and keeps me wanting to kind of show up and do more. So having a clear vision is, I think, the first priority. Now, granted, I also created a video recently on how to come up with your vision. I'll kind of put a card here, whatever you call it, so you can check out that last video. But number one is getting really clear on that vision. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't always have this down, but once I started to figure out what the vision is for each category, things got a lot easier for me. All right, while I wait for this meeting to get started, there's another framework that once I understood this, kind of unlocked everything for me. And it actually came from a guy named Dan Sullivan. It's this concept called Who Not How. They wrote a book, Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, Who Not How, based on the idea that we all have unique abilities, things that only truly us can do. We've spent a lot of time developing this skill and working on it, but we tend to spend more time on the crap that we don't even enjoy doing, plus that we're not even really good at. A perfect example is this. For me, admin work or dealing with project management drains the life force out of me. And for a long time, my first stint in entrepreneurship, when I took an agency to multiple six figures, I was spending so much time dealing with the project management of it all. It made me literally shut down the entire business, even though it was actually pretty successful. That's how annoying and terrible it was for me. And so because of that book, and obviously talking to other mentors, like my buddy Evan Carmichael, who said, you need to only be in front of people, no dealing directly with clients, no doing this, no doing that. Like once I had that conversation, I realized I was kind of doing everything wrong. And by that, it just means I was just spending too much time on crap I didn't like. So this concept of who, not how unlocked everything. So what I did was I took all of the tasks that I not only don't enjoy doing, but I'm just not that good at in general. Like even if I'm, let's say 80% in terms of how good I could be. There's someone out there that if they spent 100% of their time on it, but only were maybe 70, 60% on terms of like how good they are at it, they're still better than me because they can dedicate their whole brain power to it and it'll still be better, get done faster. And I started handing things off, started delegating, which I never truly did before. Once I started doing this, everything changed. And I brought this into not only my business, but also my 9-to-5 work. There's so many things in 9-to-5 work that you tend to spend too much time on that, again, isn't your unique genius. My unique genius is casting vision, right? Getting the idea out there, the strategy, whatever. It's not PowerPoints. So again, one of the things I started delegating and started giving to someone else was PowerPoints. It may sound like a really small thing, except for in my role, in my 9-to-5, I present a lot. And so in this case, giving away the PowerPoint. Again, if you're in a 9-to-5 world and you're doing a webinar, for example, spending hours and hours on the actual PowerPoint itself is maybe not the best use of your time if you're someone like me. So when I give webinars, for example, I'll write out exactly what I want to say, maybe even do a voice note, and then give that to someone else to build the PowerPoint. It gets done faster, it gets done better, and it allows me to actually work on the things that I'm a lot better at. So Who Not How is a framework that honestly, if you listen to nothing else and you implement this, it'll change your life. Now, the next framework goes along with this. It's about the separation of tasks. All right, now that meeting is over, let's talk really briefly about this framework called separation of tasks. Now, this comes from this book that I read a while ago called The Courage to be Disliked. It's based off of like Adlerian psychology, and it's one of my favorite frameworks. Essentially, I'm breaking this down really simply. Not everything is your responsibility. And it's about saying no to things, but also distancing yourself from stuff that has nothing to do with you. The kind of like famous example they gave in the book is imagine a world where your child, you're mad because they're not getting their homework done, they're getting poor grades, and you're constantly upset and angry, and all this energy is going into them doing something they should be doing, they're responsible for, they're not. So the separation task basically says that is their responsibility. If the result of them doing the thing they get the reward for, or they get the growth from, or that is them. That's a them thing, and your job is to maybe just help, but it's not your responsibility. This kind of delineation of tasks, the separation of tasks, helps me realize there are some, I can't be responsible for everything. There are some things that is out of my control, and this should remain as such. So that way I can focus on the things that I can control. So like an example is, imagine again, you're in a 9-to-5 and you get upset, and this happens by the way all the time. You get upset because of something that's out of your control. A coworker's not doing something they should be doing, or right? In a 9-to-5 work, not 9-to-4 work, but in your business, your client's not doing what they need to be doing to get a certain result. So you get really upset with them. Again, the separation of tasks says that is their responsibility. Our job is to kind of help, and if you choose to, you can give some energy to that. But at the end of the day, they're the one that has to be responsible for that. And to get upset and to waste energy on something that you can't control is, well, it's a waste of energy. Why does this help so much? Just because, again, if you really think about it, how much time do you waste worrying about shit that is out of your control? I mean, how much time do you spend complaining and bitching about other people and what they're doing or not doing when it has nothing to do with you? So having a clear kind of separation of tasks helps me be able to do a little bit more and not lose my mind doing it. Because you can quickly, and again, it's something that I have to remind myself of a lot is, all right, is that my task? Is that something I should be concerned about or worried about or whatever? And 9 times out of 10, and probably more, it is not that deep. It's nothing to do with me. I might as well just let it go. So the same way we separate tasks, we have to also separate our days. And so this kind of combination of framework comes from Deep Work by Newport, as well as something that I've heard Dan Sullivan talk a lot about, specifically online. So the idea is really simple. We think that we're really good at multitasking, but in fact, we really suck at it. And it's really hard to task switch, meaning like imagine I'm working on this piece of content, for example, then I got to put this down and then I got to go and work on a client's thing and I got to go. It doesn't allow for like the best expression of whatever you're doing. And so to do really good deep work, I try to separate the days. On certain days, I do certain tasks. So for example, in my business, for example, I make content, as you could tell. What's up? You're watching this, I'm making content. On this day, on Sundays typically, I block out the entire day to create. That means that in order for me to film on Sundays, on Saturdays is like my creation day. So Sundays I film, but on Saturdays is the day that I get to script things out, I write things, I leave room to dream a little bit and think through different various things. The other days that I'll put kind of in there are like client days. So for example, later on tomorrow, which is gonna be Monday, I will sit down and I will focus on for like 4 hours on the little projects that I'm working on for clients. These are things that like require not a lot of brain power, but it does require me to sit down and be disciplined and like getting all the things done. Again, why do I have to have an entire day dedicated to this type of work? It's because of the fact that, again, it's really hard, and I've done this before, to be in the middle of, all right, I need to get the transcript for this and I need to work on this part. And then in the middle of that, I gotta stop to do a sales call. It just doesn't work for me. Which then brings me to kind of the third day. So the first day is creation, that you gotta block an entire day to create. The next one is like client work. And then the third is your sales and marketing. So an entire day dedicated to sales and marketing allows me to, number one, on that day, I'm gonna work with clients. On that day, I'm gonna work with potential clients. So doing sales calls and then also working on the marketing. So this is like working on copy, because the mindset around it stays the same. So I'm in this sales and marketing mindset, and then I focus on just those tasks that require that type of mindset. Again, let's go back to what I said earlier. If I had to have the sales and marketing mindset, but then switch over to then project management, or not project management, but like project fulfillment, it's just not the right thing. It just feels off to me. So every single day has a certain task. Now you're maybe thinking to yourself, well, Raylen, how does that work when you have a 9 to 5? I'm glad you asked. Now here's the thing. We all have this excuse where it's like, well, I can't dictate what exactly that I do at my 9 to 5. That's not entirely true. Sure, there are some daily tasks that you just have to do. Then there's other things like working on the business, working on you getting better, that can have a designated day. You get really easy to like do the 9 to 5 thing and you show up and you just do the mundane tasks. But if you were to have a day, let's say Monday, that you do those tasks, and on top of that, you block out maybe 1 hour on Mondays to concentrate and focus on how can I make myself more efficient so the daily task gets less. So you can call it the working on the business day. Honestly, this won't work for everybody, and here's why. There are some people that are perfectly fine showing up to work and getting paid to clock in and clock out. This is not for those people. You can just do your daily tasks and then leave. But for the people that want to be a high performer at their 9 to 5, it's probably going to be important for you to designate a day to improve. And that's what the whole idea of having different days for different tasks really is you're going to see a huge benefit from. Now, let's talk about the stuff that I'm still working on. The stuff that honestly I borderline suck at, but I'm working on. All right, let's talk about all the stuff that I'm not great at. So it's taken me a while to kind of figure out a bit of a cadence, and still not quite there yet. So one of the things that you have to do, if you can't tell, is keep up energy. And the best way to do that is through working out, taking care of yourself. The problem is you get through these cycles where you almost can't help it. Like there's so much to do. There's so much that you can be doing, so many new ideas, whatever. And you kind of go to the wayside, especially when you have kids. And so to have a designated few days to do workouts is kind of important. Now, what I have found that works for me is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then one day during the week is like kind of perfect. And the reason being is that typically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the weekdays, I'm really concentrated on work, the tasks at hand and those things. On the weekends, I have a little bit of more of a buffer. So like on the weekends, I can get in a workout and not get too distracted because of work. The parts that like I don't get entirely right is, and this is kind of the hard balance of the kids side of it, is that because I work out on the weekends, for example, that takes away time with the kids. But the hard part is, and my wife for that matter, and it's really hot here in Arizona. So it used to be like this fun thing we all do together. So that was like a thing we could all do together. Now that it's hot though, I don't really want my kids out here in the garage when it's literally it's 110 degrees right now and humid, which is disgusting. So I don't know, like I said, the hard part is like, I mean, by Saturday, I'm like exhausted, right? Like I'm so tired that I'm like, I need a day to do nothing. It's like the goal. But again, you got to get in the workout. So I don't know. There's definitely a balance there that I'm still trying to figure out. But for me, I think the best cadence so far has been Monday through Friday. I'll get in like cardio type activities, walks, whatever, etc. And on the weekends is when I do like the longer activities. But the part of this that I definitely don't get right is I have a hobby that like I haven't been able to go and do for like months, mainly because of the limited time, which is jiu-jitsu. For those that don't know, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, which I've been a purple belt for like well over a year. Oh, I thought it was a year. My wife was like, no, it's actually been like 2. So because I haven't been able to like go. So one of the things I'm working on is finding that balance of like, when can I get my hobbies in? Because jiu-jitsu is like not just for working out. It's also one of my favorite hobbies. So yeah, that's the part that I suck at. So I think what I'm gonna do about that is creating some more time to do it in the mornings. So like they have a 6:30 class, and that means that I can go to that, but it means I'll be a little bit late to work, which should be fine. I just kind of got to go over it. But the thing, again, you'll realize is that the more you do it at your plate, the more it takes away from something else. So it's more so like, hey, what am I willing to give up? Which again, is part of the hard part. Now, honestly, this might be the thing that I don't get right enough. And it's the one that's the most important to me, which is friends, family, the kids. And the part that I don't get exactly right is being in the present moment is really, really difficult when you have this many things in your head. So, and honestly, for a long time, I thought I was alone in this. I thought I was just kind of crazy. Where's that? It turns out there's a book called Driven by Douglas Brockman. He talked about how like these individuals that are high performers tend to all really struggle with staying in the present moment. One of the things that make me good at what I do is the fact that I'm constantly focused on strategies and like the future and how things can work out and why and blah, blah, blah. All of that makes me good, but the downside is there are times when I go on vacation or I'm holding my baby and I'm feeding her that I'm thinking about work and not being present. And honestly, that really bums me out. Especially there are certain days that my wife knows that if we're out with the kids and the kids are having fun and she sees this look in my eye where I'm like not there and she knows I'm thinking about work, she'll tell me, hey, go take care of what you need to take care of and come back. I don't really love that. And so one of the things that I'm kind of working on more, which sounds weird, but it works for me. So here's a really good example. We're gonna be going up north to area around Flagstaff that we won't have Wi-Fi and really terrible cell phone service. So it makes me have to not work. So in order to do that and actually feel good about it and be present, I'm putting in a lot of work today. So like today, again, I'm filming this, I got a bunch of client work to do. I'm gonna miss out on some family time today. My wife's gonna take the kids to their cousins and they're gonna have fun without me. That's a bummer. But because I'm doing this today, I get to fully enjoy the vacation. I had this friend, and I'll kind of wrap it up with this, but I had this friend once say, life is a series of sprints followed by extreme rest. And he seemed to get this down pretty pat, the part of with family and business. He ran like a multiple 7-figure business. I think he's a really, really good dad. And that's kind of what I'm striving to be. Can I be both a high performer in everything that I do, including the most important parts, which is being a great husband and a great father. And the way that he did it is kind of what I'm working on now, which is sprinting as hard as I can in work so that way I can provide for my family and have everything for them. But after that sprint done, have extreme rest, where again, for a week, we're going up to the cabin and I'm not working at all. If you want to call reading and maybe jotting some ideas down, work, fine. But like for the most part, I'm not gonna have my computer, not gonna have anything. So for me, the answer to like me getting better, being in the present moment is focusing on being present at work so that way I can be present at home. And kind of the last thing, little tip that I'll give that helped me literally last night, I'm feeding Mila and my brain starts to wander. I started asking myself a really simple question, which is, where are you right now? There's a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and they talk about this idea of like all the anxiety and stuff is in the future, where all like depression and sadness is all in the past. In the present moment, everything is fine. And so I noticed that if I'm starting to think about something that I need to do even 5 minutes later, asking and being aware of where I'm at by asking myself, hey, where are you right now? Allowed me to go, I am here. Like, let's be here and be in the present moment, which, yeah, it's really easy to forget sometimes, but like the whole reason I work, a large part of the reason why I work so much in all these different areas is for my family. So when I'm with them, I might as well be with them. With that being said, I need to get this workout in, folks, because if I don't, I won't be able to get it in. With that being said, I want to hear your thoughts about everything we talked about. How do you manage the 9 to 5 and working on your business? And if you don't have a business on the side too, you, like many people, probably have tons of different roles. You're trying to figure out how to balance. I want to hear from all of you and how you do it. Leave your tips in the comments. As always, appreciate you watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I'll catch you on the next video.